Okay, guys, this was a long time coming. I love the PlayStation Vita, and today I'm going to tell you why it is still a viable option despite me being an owner of a Steam Deck and many other portable, non portable, new and old gaming devices. The PlayStation Vita now is 13 years old. It was released in 2011, December 2011 in Japan, and was unveiled beginning of that same year. So it is by now an aged device, but it has aged like a fine wine, I can say. And it is a gaming device that I continuously come turning back to in my life. It is truly amazing. You just heard the sound in the background. Sorry for this little, you know, glitch basically. Here we have it. This is my Vita. I think this is my third model or my second model. I'm not too sure about it. And I'm not even using a case, which also speaks for the build quality. Let's turn that on. And there you go. Why do I love it in 2024? It's very simple. It's one of the most versatile and pocketable gaming devices out there. Let me show you what I have on my PlayStation Vita, or tell you. First of all, we have, I should go maybe a little bit into the camera, N64 emulation, we have PSP native emulation, and we even have stuff like PC ports, like in this case Fallout 2. I was also playing through Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and basically Android native port for the PlayStation Vita. And here we have a selection of games that are also quite cool. Most of them, Borderlands runs horribly, but it's still kind of an enjoyable experience. And down here we have a couple of the tools that I personally use, like Vita Graphics and recently Thread Optimizer. Of course, what you can also do is overclock the heck out of this machine and run it at 333 MHz on the GPU and 500 MHz on the CPU. And you can unlock the fourth core. We are now in 2024 at such a vastly different point where the system has been thoroughly explored by the great community of hackers like the Flow and Renegatamenta. I hope I'm not butchering his name. Listen, the Vita can fit in my normal pockets. If I go outside, I don't have to rely on anything. I just like plop it in there and actually it disappears. So this is one of the reasons that I love this device. Then the sheer variety of games. The Vita is known to have a shit ton of JRPGs, and I'm personally not particularly a great fan of those. But there's still so much other good stuff. To just have a selection over here, we have a JRPG, Is 8. Then we have Little Big Planet, which is really cool, by the way. We also have like quick and easy games like Urban Freestyle. This is just a selection that I currently have on it. We have the extremely fast-paced Gravity Racer, Wipeout 2048. It looks and feels incredible to play. Then WRC4, a fantastic rally game. And we have Freedom Wars, a game that I just recently happened to try out. And oh my god, did I miss out so far. It's not perfect. The gameplay is reasonably smooth and varied for a handheld release like that, but you can really feel how much love and effort went into that game. And it's an amazing take on the Monster Hunter, or on this genre. It's completely different with guns and so forth, but it's a really awesome game. Just recently went into it. With games like Borderlands, what I did to make them run is a multitude of things. And the first and foremost, most important thing that you can do is overclock your device. In my case with Lolicon, but there are various options for that. But since the advent of AI, the really awesome thing is I used AI to optimize the threads of the processor through this homebrew application to run Borderlands substantially better. And how I did that is by taking a snapshot of the application, this now gets really cerebral for a little moment. And then you have all your threads here. Like, for example, async IO system, aka IO thread, bank manager, event manager, but then also the rendering thread. When I go into any one of those, I can first of all activate through my unlocked Vita the fourth core, which is normally completely locked for the system. And I can also change the priority. For example, the rendering thread has a very, very high, the highest priority, and so forth. I want to keep it at that because that will get really cerebral. I made this patch, and that patch runs better than any that you can get online. There is one around which is not working well. You get audio stutter and very little improvement. And basically what the guy did was just like, let the system control everything in the thread. So I didn't really understand his point of releasing his. I didn't release that one. If you want it, then let me know down in the comment section below, and I will gladly upload that for you. Let's head over to Adrenaline, because Adrenaline is the way that you access your PSP and PlayStation 1 games. And let's have a look what I got here in a second. First of all, I just recently reinstalled the Metal Gear Solid Integral version, which is this baby little here, over here. Metal Gear Solid Integral, a version that was released in Japan, which includes the VR missions and also has a ton of extra features. Like, for example, if you play thrice through the main story on any difficulty, in just not super easy, or there's this super easy mode where you get an MP5 in the beginning. That one doesn't count, but all the others count. And then you unlock all the VR missions. Then furthermore, there are no PSP games installed currently, but I played a load of PSP games as well. A-Spec. A-Spec is a mod, an amazing mod, which restores content that was cut from Gran Turismo 2 originally, and it adds a lot of cars that are all lore friendly, so to say, human lore, our own history. They are history accurate, so those are all cars which could have been included in this, I believe, 1998 release or something like that, which I also played as a kid, and it still holds up very well. They overhauled the graphic and A-Spec and added, as I said, many, many new cars. Then another game that I also played as a kid, Tomb Raider 2. You can see a pattern here. If you are, like me, a person who had a PlayStation 1 as a child, maybe, or a PlayStation 2, or has some history with the brand PlayStation, then this device is amazing. And let me tell you one thing. The OLED screen on this, while it doesn't have a high peak brightness, it is fantastic, except if you're sitting in the sunlight. But quite frankly, most portable gaming devices aren't that great in direct sunlight. Neither are laptops, right? So if you play this in a situation that is normal, you can say, at home, you can really enjoy deep blacks in games like Metal Gear Solid, but also horror games like maybe Resident Evil or many other games where darkness and this kind of oppressing feeling, and that the developers want you to feel in this moment, it really, 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 really works great on this OLED screen. Like, there's this section in Metal Gear Solid where you're crawling through the vents into the tank hangar in the very beginning, from the heliport to the tank hangar, and it felt really good in the sense that it felt dreadful with the PlayStation Vita. Super dark blacks and extremely nice colors. Daedalus, the N64 emulator, is one thing that I tried out yesterday, since a long time. Daedalus X64, which is really amazing as well. And what I played was Majora's Mask. And this is one of the Zeldas that I played the least. I didn't play any of the N64 Zeldas when they actually came out. So there you go. You have it running actually pretty good. There were some scenes in the city, in the Clock Tower City, or however it is called, where you had, from few perspectives, a little bit of not full speed emulation. This game originally actually ran on 20 FPS, and it doesn't feel horrible to play it on that 20 FPS, but it's kind of amazing, to be honest with you. I doubt that I will play through it, but maybe I will, because of course you have save states and you can use the touchscreen. Let me do that. Load the save state. Slot 0. So you can actually change stuff on the fly with this emulator by just tapping here. Then you have the options and you can use your finger as a mouse. And it runs fine. It looks especially very beautiful on that OLED screen. So emulation, not only of the N64, obviously everything which comes below that. I am more interested into everything, let's say N64 and up. So for me, I primarily use it actually to play PlayStation 1 games. It's really the way to go. I think there is no better way to play your PlayStation 1 games than the Vita 1000 model, simply because the OLED screen and the size of the screen. It is the most close representation of what you would have experienced back then on a CRT, in my opinion, or just the best way to experience it. The small form factor makes it look quite good, and then the colors, the deep black levels, it's a fantastic device. This device sadly got discontinued by Sony in 2019, and the support was so-so, let's say. There were a couple of good titles released through the Sony studios. There was a Resistance title, there was games like Little Big Planet, Wipeout, Tearaway, Uncharted: The Golden Abyss, Persona 4 Golden, Need for Speed Most Wanted, of course Borderlands, notoriously running really bad, especially without overclocking or without modifications, as I did with my custom processor threads and modded console. But there was a wealth of good games. It was not as supported as the PSP, for example. The PSP just sold a lot more units and was a cash cow for Sony more than the PlayStation Vita. So Sony saw the PlayStation Vita very early on in its lifetime as a failure and stopped properly supporting it. And that was to the detriment of the community. Nobody in the community was really happy about how Sony dealt with that. The same goes for a lot of other devices, let's face it. The Sony PSVR 2 faces a similar fate, it seems. I hope for the best, and I hope that they can turn it around and, that the whole thing works. But Sony has a history with abandoning devices in a weird way where they are kept in limbo. Fortunately, the Flow and all those great hackers exist. You can be only grateful for them, because they just picked it up and ran with it, you can say. By now, it is one of the most beloved modded devices, also for the fact that you can soft mod it. You don't actually have to install a chip. You don't even have to make permanent changes to your console, while you will not be locked out of the use of PSN and its features. So it's great. It came with memory cards, and there is an option, a very easy option called SD2 Vita, which enables you to use normal SD cards. I can show that to you as well. This is an SD2 Vita. This is a very early one, and you just take your SD and you stick it up inside there, and then you have basically a thing that you slot into your game card slot of your PlayStation Vita. And with a little bit of tinkering, you can basically use that as the memory card for the Vita. So you could use a 128 GB memory card, or I believe even a bigger one, and have tons of emulation stuff on it, etc. I actually like the limitation of having, at the moment, as I said, using the memory card and not SD2 Vita, and having to swap out games and being able to concentrate on a few which I then really enjoy. For example, at the moment that is, for example, Freedom Wars, and it's Metal Gear Solid 1, and it's also the A-Spec mod of Gran Turismo 2, for example. So, to the people that maybe watch this video to evaluate the question, should I get a PlayStation Vita? Is it still a viable option in 2024? And especially for people that have a Steam Deck and love their Steam Deck, I totally understand. You can play anything on your Steam Deck, including emulated Vita games. But there are some which you actually can't really emulate because they have certain functions that are connected to the back touch screen of the PlayStation Vita. And if you want to enjoy it as it was supposed to be enjoyed, then you need that. And the form factor plays a huge role, because you can't stick your Steam Deck in your pocket, as I did before with the PlayStation Vita. And this is a game changer. If you're just going out, for certain activities, you don't want to have that huge thing with you. The Steam Deck is ideal for traveling, for being in an airplane, being in a hotel, and having to wait somewhere. Then it's perfect. And that is also the purpose of the device, and not short commutes through your city where you're visiting a friend or something and want just to get this 5 to 10 minutes of play in while you're commuting or whatever. So it's a great device. There's so many awesome stuff about it. The battery life is very solid. This one, I have two Vitas, one replacement part Vita. Fortunately, that broke. Even the thought of losing it makes me tremble. And I took that battery out and put it inside there, because this one was getting old, and it rocks. It really, really gives you a lot of play, depending, of course, what you do, as always. But you get a lot of play out of your Vita, usually, depending on the games that you're playing. Awesome device. Get one. You can get them really, really cheap. If you are planning to get one, absolutely get the 1000 model, or get maybe the slim and modded if you are that kind of person that has, the skills to do such a thing. Then that could be an option. But to be honest with you, the original PS Vita 1000 model is absolutely fantastic, still to this day. With that said, and before I die here of hiccups or whatever is coming up here, thanks for watching and listening to me sharing my joy and my passion for this little gaming device. Let me know if you enjoyed it. This was a free flow video, of course. If you did, then absolutely smash that like. And let me know, do you also still play the PlayStation Vita as I do? Periodically, because sometimes I use gaming devices just for a period, and then I put them aside, and then I totally get fascinated about them once more. I have that with all of my gaming devices. The past couple of months, for example, I suddenly had a trip where I was like totally fascinated by the Xbox 360 again, and playing stuff like PGR 4 and the GTA series with a really bad frame rate and resolution, and somehow that made me happy. And I'm always tending to kind of circulate through my gaming devices. The Steam Deck is now sitting over there, and I played it a lot, and I will keep on playing it a lot, and for certain games, it's absolutely a banger. But then for other stuff, this is the way to go with this beautiful OLED screen. With that said, much love, and I see you guys soon.